Bumper to bumper, we love them old cars. Be it Ford or GM or be it a Mopar. People, power and passion, you know that is our deal. So tune into our TV show with Rusty at the wheel.
Mark, g'day and welcome to Bumper. How you going?
Hi, Rusty. Very well, thank you.
That's good. Now, Mark, we're here at Motorclassica here today. We're celebrating 50 years of Lamborghini. Tell me a little bit of that, because you've got a vested interest in this.
Oh, look, I have. I guess I'm a car guy, but particularly passionate about Lamborghini. I guess it's the mark that I've just admired all my life, really. So fortunate enough to have a couple of my own cars here as part of the show. All
right. Now, you were telling me off camera that you actually organised some of this event for Lamborghini, but also Valentino Balboni?
Yeah, look, I guess I wear a number of hats. I'm on the advisory board for Motorclassica, and I guess one of the key milestones we're celebrating this year is the 50th anniversary of Lamborghini. So, yeah, that was one of my roles to help get the display here, as you see today, including some cars from one of our sponsors, Zagami's. We've got 19 Lamborghinis, and the intent really was to get I guess a timeline of cars. So from this 400 GT, which was one of the very early first models produced, that car's from 1966, right through to a modern Aventador that Zagami's have got on display. So we've got about, I think, a dozen different models representing the history of Lamborghini. And look, this display is absolutely world-class by any standards. And we're really fortunate to have Valentino Balboni come and join Motorclassica this year as our ambassador and special guest.
And for the viewers at home who don't know Valentino, he's the ex-test driver for about 45 years.
Yeah, look, Valentino started with Lamborghini back in 1968 as an apprentice motor mechanic, and in a very short time became, I guess, promoted and took on the role of test driver, and it's something he became famous for.
Yeah.
And well respected, and everyone loves to chat to him, and he's got some great stories to tell.
Yeah, that's good. Now, what are one of the rarest cars that we actually have for Lamborghini here today?
Look, they're all pretty rare. They were made in very limited numbers. There's a Lamborghini Silhouette over there from 1978.
Yes.
And they made around about 50 of those models only. And there's probably about half a dozen in Australia, but that car is in absolutely fabulous condition, and it's great to have that here today. But most of the models, earlier models you see represented, are made here in limited numbers. You know, the Miuras in total, they probably made just under 800 cars. Very few in right-hand drive. The Islero here, around about 200 cars built. The 400 GT, circa 250 cars built. Urama, so on, similar sort of numbers.
Yep.
So, look, very rare cars. Yeah.
Okay. Why did Lamborghini make so many limited editions? Is it to hold the value of the car, or what were the main reasons for that?
No, look, I guess in period they were just a small manufacturer aimed at building, I guess, the best cars in the day, and I guess part of the strategy was to build them as in limited numbers. You know, at the time when they were new, they were very expensive, and clients were the rich and famous, and to own a Lamborghini was just quite something in the day, whether it be a Miura, an Islero, or an Espada.
Yeah.
So, but look, they were a competitor with the likes of Ferrari, of course, who also made wonderful cars, but tended to make them in greater numbers.
Yeah. All right. All right, well, look, I want to say thank you very much for being on Bumper to Bumper. Thanks for sharing your car and Lamborghini history, and enjoy the weekend at Motorclassica.
Thanks, Rusty.
Okay,
good on you.
Mark.
Thanks.
Lachlan, g'day and welcome to Bumper. How you going?
Good morning to you.
Yep, good morning to you. Now, we're here at Motorclassica. We've got your Aston Martin 1981. Can you tell me a little bit about it?
Yes, this is an Aston Martin Oscar India V8. A lot of people think Oscar India means something very important. It actually only means October issue, so it's
okay.
But it's a fairly rare car. Astons were never high production. They only built 40 of these cars in 1981, and I think, if I'm right, about 290 over the total production run of many years. And I think this is only one of two in Australia. I believe there's one in Western Australia.
How long have you actually had the car? Did you buy it brand new?
No, I didn't. I had been looking for one for years. In fact, when I was with March, we used to do a lot of unofficial testing for Astons who were near us. So I used to get to drive pretty well anything they had, which was great fun. Good. And Julia and I were looking for a car that we could tour in, and this is a little bit bigger than these gorgeous DB5s and DB6s.
Yeah.
And the chap who owned it was a very, very rich dentist. I think a lot of dentists make a lot of money. And he had...
And caused a lot of people a lot of pain too.
I'm sure. And he had seen the film The Living Daylights.
Yep.
And said, oh, I want my car to look like the car in the film. So he sent it back to Aston's and Aston Engineering and said, I want a complete body off rebuild, new glass, new chrome, can you believe it, new paint, engine upgraded beyond vantage spec, Harvey Bailey handling kit, lowered suspension, you name it. We think he spent over somewhere between 80 and 90,000 pounds on the car.
That's going back a few years. So
in 1995.
So in Australian dollar terms?
Probably about 300,000 in those days.
So. Yep.
And bearing in mind that when this car first came out in 81, it cost more than 2 small houses in England.
Yeah.
So they were never cheap.
No.
But when the car came back, he said, oh, I've changed my mind. I want a different model. So my friends in Motorsport got in touch with me and said, Lachlan, I think you better come and look at this car.
Yeah.
It's the only car I've walked around and said deal.
Straight away?
Straight away.
Now, why was that?
I think there's something about the classic line, the fact that all the upgrading work had been done at the very highest motor racing standards. These are fairly unforgiving cars, and the engines are difficult to work on. If you make a mistake, it can be very expensive. If you don't set up the suspension correctly, they can be quite dangerous to drive.
Yes.
And this had been set up beautifully, painted beautifully, and I'm afraid you just fall in love with these things. The trouble was then that my wife said that all my cars were too big. So I said, all right, I'll build you the world's fastest Fiat Abarth, and that can be your Aston Martin. So we spent a year designing it and a year building it with Tony Castle-Miller, who's the British champion for this class.
Right.
And it's made to look exactly the same colour and the same trim. So mother and baby.
Yeah, mother and baby. Well, you've done well, and being able the ability to actually do that for your wife is fantastic as well.
Well, luckily I had still access to a lot of my former motor racing colleagues, because it wouldn't have been very easy otherwise.
Now, I believe you do get this car out on the road, don't you?
Oh, indeed. We drive it, and we've driven it all around in Europe.
Yes.
And I love these Concours cars, but this is not a Concours car. This is a car that gets driven and used, and they really need to be used. They're designed for that.
You've got to get everything flowing in the car, don't you?
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, Lachlan, I want to say thank you very much for being on Bumper to Bumper. Enjoy the rest of your time at Motorclassica.
Thank you very much indeed. It's a great pleasure.
Thank you.
Bumper to bumper, we love them old cars. Bumper to bumper, we love them old cars.
Okay, John, g'day and welcome to Bumper. How are you going?
I'm well, thank you.
That's good. Now, we're looking at a 57 Chev Bel Air. My ideal car, I've said probably many times in the show, is a 57 Chevy Bel Air. So I'm drooling at the moment. Tell me a little bit about your car, buddy.
The car's been on the road for just a couple of weeks now, but I've had it for 27 years. I bought it in 1986 with the intention of it being my road car. But
okay, 86, okay.
We were all doing the rockabilly thing back then, so it was the ideal car for that. And when I took delivery of it from the US, I needed to convert it, obviously, which was the first job done. But then I realised that the car really wants a proper restoration, and decided to take it back to original specification. And it's been an on and off project since then.
All right. Now, in 86 you bought the car. You've only just finished it there. The rest of it hasn't been there 28 years or whatever it has been, has it? No,
there's been some start and stop along the way. The grown-up things in life need to take priority, so I spent some years sitting around doing nothing.
All right.
And we picked it up a couple of years ago. About 3 years ago we started
the real. Okay, let's say it's taken 3 years to actually do the resto.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, if you're in Motorclassica and your car's here, Is this concourse or not concourse? I'm not quite sure.
No, this is entered in the concourse.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that
yeah.
must mean it must be a very smick job, and it looks very nice.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah. Well, the brief for the project was to restore it to the way it was when it came out of the dealer's showroom back in 1957. So everything has been brought back to original specification as much as was possible.
All right. What was the car, first of all, like when you first got it in 86?
There was no drivetrain in it, so the only drive I had of it back then was rolling it off the back of a trailer.
Yeah.
And then...
We're getting all your mates to push it.
Yeah, well, it took a little bit of a push, but that was the only drive I had, really.
Yeah.
And so it had been a Saturday night special, been messed around with and still in good shape, but it certainly wasn't original. But it was a good solid car to start with, so minimal rust and straight panels and everything that you'd want for a project like that.
All right, so what did you do with the drivetrain? What did you pick up? The engine, gearbox and all that? Where from and how?
Yeah, it's got an original power pack set up for it, and it actually came out of a 56 Chevy that had come into Australia a few years later. And so it's a 283, 220 horsepower with a 4-barrel carb and the rest of the bits and pieces that go with that.
All right. Now, did you do any of the work on the restoration yourself?
Yes, I didn't really know much about restoring cars when I started, but I can say I know a lot more about it now. And I did a lot of the work with friends and had the use of various workshops around the place to finish it off in various stages.
Oh, sorry to cut in. Now, how did you know what spec to get it back to for a 57 Chevy then? How did you get that information to help you restore the car back to concourse?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it's become increasingly easy with the age of internet upon us. And when we first started the project, a friend of mine and I was heavily involved with it. We were referring to factory documentation and books and information like that. All of the information was there because there have been enthusiasts' cars in the US for some time now. So the restoration of them in America had been a popular pastime for some decades by the time I got stuck into it. So the information was there. Yeah. But now it's all available through forums and all sorts of other websites as well.
Yeah, the web has certainly made it a very smaller world to get a lot of information.
Yeah, and now if I'm missing a part, find it, order it, deliver it, and a few days later it's there.
Because there's probably a resurgence of 57 Chevys and makes some aftermarket parts from the US as well.
Yep, absolutely. There's a lot of restoration manufacture happening, and every month there's more and more available. So 27 years ago when I started the project, there were some things that were just impossible to get and you had to be happy with what you had, but now much more of it's being remade and most of it's good. Some of it's not so good, but most of it's good and makes life a lot easier.
All right, John. Well, look, I want to say thank you very much for being on Bumper to Bumper. You're making me drool over your 57. I'm very envious, but well done, and it's a beautiful car.
Thank you very much, Rusty.
Okay, thanks a lot, mate.
Cheers.